The moment her mother smiled at me and said, "So how long have you two been together?" my heart stopped. I looked at my boss. She didn't look back. She just squeezed my hand under the table like this was normal, like my entire life hadn't just flipped upside down in one sentence. In that second, I realized something terrifying and strange. I wasn't just trapped in an awkward dinner. I was standing at the edge of a truth that could either ruin me or change everything forever. I never planned to go to her house. She said it was just a team dinner, something casual, something safe. I almost didn't go. She was my boss, confident, sharp, always in control, and I was just an employee trying to survive paycheck to paycheck. But she insisted, smiled in that way that made saying no feel impossible, and promised it would be quick. I wore my cleanest shirt, rehearsed polite answers in my head, and told myself it was just food, just conversation, just one evening. The moment we walked through the door, I felt it. Her parents' eyes lit up like they had been waiting for me their whole lives. Her mother hugged me too tightly. Her father shook my hand like he was measuring my worth. Before I could even understand what was happening, she laughed and said, "Mom, Dad, this is my boyfriend." The word hit me harder than any insult ever. Good boyfriend? I almost laughed from shock. I almost corrected her. But the room was warm, hopeful, full of expectations, and suddenly, I was afraid to break something fragile. Dinner felt like a test I hadn't studied for. Questions came fast. Where did we meet? What were my plans for the future? Did I believe in loyalty, family, commitment? Every answer felt like walking on glass. I lied gently, shaped the truth carefully, and felt guilt grow heavier with every bite. My boss, no, my fake girlfriend, kept glancing at me, silently begging me to play along, and I did. Not because I wanted to, but because I saw fear in her eyes too. Later that night, when her parents finally left us alone, I confronted her in a quiet hallway. My voice shook as I asked why she did this to me. She didn't answer right away. Then she told me the truth. Her parents were pressuring her to marry. They didn't believe in her independence, her career, her choices. She needed proof she was happy, settled, loved, and somehow she chose me. I should have walked out. I should have said no, drawn a line, protected myself. But when she apologized, really apologized, I saw something different. Not my boss, not a powerful woman, just someone tired of fighting expectations alone. So I agreed. One dinner turned into more. Calls, messages, pretending in front of her parents. Slowly, something strange happened. The pretending started to feel real. Somewhere between shared laughter and quiet conversations, I stopped seeing her as my boss. I saw her as someone who listened to me, who respected my ideas, who asked about my dreams, and she stopped commanding and started caring. But fear followed me every day. What happens when this ends? What happens when the truth comes out? Or worse, what if it doesn't, and I lose myself completely? The night she told her parents she wanted to bring me on a family trip, I knew things had gone too far. I couldn't live inside a lie forever. That night I barely slept. I realized I had two choices: keep pretending and slowly disappear inside someone else's story, or tell the truth and risk losing everything. By morning, my decision was clear. Even if it cost me my job, my pride, or my heart, I had to be honest. When I stood in front of her parents again, my hands were shaking. My voice almost failed. But I told them everything. How we met, why she lied, why I went along with it. I expected anger, disappointment, maybe even hate. Instead, there was silence. Then her father sighed deeply and said something I will never forget. "We wanted you to be happy," he said to her. "Not perfect," she cried. Not quietly, she broke down like someone who had been holding her breath for years. Her mother hugged her. Then they looked at me. Not as a fake boyfriend, not as an employee, but as a human being who chose honesty over comfort. That moment changed everything. After that, I resigned from my job. Not out of anger, but to give us space to figure out what was real and what wasn't. Weeks passed without pretending, without titles, just two people talking honestly for the first time. And that's when something beautiful happened. Without pressure, without lies, we chose each other again, this time for real. Love didn't start at that dinner table. It started the moment we stopped pretending. And I learned something powerful through all of it. That respect, honesty, and courage matter more than status, power, or fear. Sometimes life tricks you into uncomfortable moments not to embarrass you, but to lead you toward the truth you were too afraid to face. The silence after that night was heavier than any argument could have been. I walked away from her house feeling like I had finally done the right thing, yet every step hurt like a mistake. I kept asking myself if honesty was worth losing someone who had slowly become important to me. Days turned into nights and nights into doubts. I no longer woke up to her messages or her work emails. For the first time, she was completely absent from my life. And that absence revealed how deeply she had entered my heart without either of us noticing. When she finally called, her voice didn't sound powerful or confident. It sounded human. She told me she hadn't slept either. She said my honesty had shaken her, but in a way that opened her eyes. For years, she had lived to impress her parents, her colleagues, and the world, but no one had ever challenged her to be honest with herself. She admitted that using me was wrong, but losing me felt even worse. That conversation didn't fix everything, but it reopened a door I thought was permanently closed. We met again, not in a fancy place, not as part of any act, just two people sitting across from each other, stripped of titles and lies. She told me she had always been surrounded by people who wanted something from her: status, security, approval. With me, she felt normal. I told her how small and replaceable I had always felt at work, and how pretending to be someone important for her parents made me realize my own worth for the first time. The truth connected us in a way the lie never could. Her parents eventually reached out too. Not to blame me, not to accuse me, but to understand. They realized that their pressure had pushed their daughter into fear instead of happiness. Watching her stand up for herself changed them. Watching me walk away with dignity changed them too. Respect grew where expectations once lived. What surprised me most was that love didn't rush in like a movie ending. It grew slowly, carefully, built on trust instead of performance. We chose each other again, this time without pretending, without fear of disappointing anyone else. And that choice felt stronger than the lie that first brought us together. In the end, I learned that sometimes life puts you in uncomfortable situations not to trap you, but to teach you who you are. I walked into that dinner as an employee trying to please his boss. I walked out of that experience as someone who understood his value, and she learned that real love doesn't need approval. It needs courage. Time has a quiet way of revealing what is real. After everything we went through, I thought peace would come easily. But Chapter 3 wasn't about comfort, it was about choice. Now that there were no lies, no pressure, and no roles to hide behind, we had to face the hardest question of all. Were we together because of what happened, or because we truly wanted each other? Life tested us again, but this time differently. Without the office connecting us, our worlds felt far apart. Her life was still busy, filled with responsibility and expectations. Mine was uncertain, rebuilding, fragile. There were moments I felt small standing beside her. Not because she made me feel that way, but because old insecurities don't disappear overnight. I wondered if love could survive without the drama that created it. One night, after a long silence between us, she finally said something that changed everything. She admitted she was afraid that without the lie, I would see her clearly and walk away. For so long she had been admired, respected and feared, but rarely chosen for who she truly was. She thought the power imbalance protected her from rejection. Losing that scared her more than losing her job ever could.